Hello, everyone, and good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you may be. I am Chris Bernal, aka Crifu Bernal on the internet. You can find me there on any social media platform. And I'm super excited to be here tonight with all of you. Thank you so much for being here. I'm kind of hella nervous a little bit. A little bit about me. I have been streaming tabletop role-playing games for the last 2.5 years with Manapot Studios here on Twitch. But now I am starting to branch out a little bit on my own, develop my own Twitch channel, and in that vein, I am launching a solo Pathfinder game here on twitch.tv/CrifuBernal. Hey Zero, hey Midnight Aura, hey Yozo, hey Werewin, thank you all for being here. I am super appreciative of your support. This is Skull and Shackles, a pirate-themed adventure path from the good folks at Paizo. This adventure path came out, I want to say 2012, so we are going to be playing in Pathfinder 1st Edition. As far as questions for how we will be running this game, I'm going to be using normal Pathfinder rules with some extra stuff. We'll be using the mythic rules, which allow our characters to, in addition to the levels that they gain, normally they also gain what's called mythic tiers in a certain mythic path. And in addition to that, we'll be using gestalt homebrewed rules, so that instead of just gaining... So at the beginning of when you first build your character at level 1, which we did last week, and you can find on the VOD or on my YouTube, we choose 2 classes at level 1. And every time we level, we gain a level in both of those classes. That's going to help our party survive a little bit, because there are only 2 PCs in this adventure, one of which that I built myself, but the other was a character concept given to me by my friend Hopper, failed badly from the Legend Tree, which you can find them on Twitter under those places as well. And so we have, they've given me the second character, a sort of rival to my main character, Spear and Hazlen. My thought is that over the course of this adventure path, if we make it through all 6 of them, these 2 will rise to the ranks of free captains in the pirate fleet in the isles known as the Shackles, and will eventually find themselves as rival free captains, building a myth and a legend all their own. Yeah, like I said, I'm a little nervous. I've been doing this for a few years now with Manapot, but this is the first time I am role-playing by myself, with myself, in front of other people. I have come up with a series of tricks that I think will help make this even more exciting and engaging to watch. So we'll just jump right into it. Our story begins one fire day evening, that's Friday, in the month of Gozran, April. Late Gozran. On a late night, on a fire day. We can see from above the capital of the Shackles, Port Peril, a literal den of scum and villainy, where the free captains and the free captains of the pirate fleets of the Shackles come to gather, trade tales, trade wares, and find work, essentially. Spear is a human-looking man, and we can see him walking down a pier under the moonlight on a hot evening. This is a tropical climate, sort of jungle-y. And so despite the fact that it is only April, the heat is sweltering, even without the sun's rays. We see Spear. He is a tall man, 6'2", 6'3", very well built, quite muscular, walking in a fine breastplate that appears to have been retrofitted in ways that allows him to move more agilely. You can see that the iron pieces, where they connect at the hinges around his shoulders and his armpit and his waist, have these little chains that allow them to move a little more freely. He's well equipped as well. There are 2 spears on his back, one long, one short, and a wooden shield on top of this backpack that he's carrying with him. He's taking in the sights and sounds of the port, and he sees a rundown tavern on the edge of, at the beginning of one specific pier, called the Fortunately Made. He walks his way in, and as he enters into this quite full tavern that's bursting with song and sound, you can see that the lantern light catches his eyes, and that they are a vivid purple. Did that work? There we go. Purple. You can see. It's ever so slight, but it's just one of the tricks. He makes his way to an empty stool at the bar where a half-orc maiden with green skin and long brown hair is tied back. She looks him up and down. This man is somewhat clean-shaven. He probably has a good 5 o'clock shadow. And despite his black hair that is almost mohawky, you can see these little kind of black-brown skull ridges along his head. She makes a face at that, and then her eyes travel down his face to his neck, where there are 2 sets of gills on either side. She asks him what she can do for him, and as he orders a drink, the camera zooms up, pans up, and around the bar to a specific corner where there's a small stage set up. I say small in the regards that there is quite a small person standing on this stage, which literally just happens to be a barrel propped up in the corner with 2 lanterns surrounding it. This gnomish person is dressed quite dashingly, one could say, with they have a black hat at their feet, broad-brimmed, flat black hat that's tipped upside down. Maybe there are a few copper coins already in it. Their long silver hair is tied back into a ponytail, and he is quite tanned with freckled skin and green eyes and rosy cheeks. This is Hazlen, and he speaks out to the crowd that has gathered around him. All right, let's see if I can do this accent. Let me get a quick beer. I'm hoping that, as we go through this adventure, my accent work will get better. It's all good practice. So he kind of tugs at his silver ponytail and is like, all right. Well, you've all heard about the Hurricane King, Kodak Bonefist, yeah? And a few people, everyone nods. Of course they've heard of the Hurricane King, the leader of the Free Captains, our Lord and Savior, one might say. Well, have you heard the tale about how Kodak seized power when Scavenger Pitch was killed and became our long reigning Hurricane King? A few people roll their eyes, nod. Yeah, we've heard this one before. Okay, well, all right, but have you heard the one about how he not once but twice intercepted ships bound for Cheliax, huh? Stealing Sun Orchid Elixir, the elixir of youth and life. Youth elixirs that were meant for the uncle of her infernal magistrix, Queen Abigail Thrune II. A few people are like, oh, what? That sounds like quite a tale. And then someone's like, yeah, we've heard that one. All right. He sees like a tomato being held up and throws his hands. No. Instead, I will tell you the tale of how Kodak Bonefist got his name as a first mate on the ship Rock Bottom. And they all kind of perk up at this. Oh, I can see you haven't heard this one yet. Kodak's crew ran afoul of the Nigul, a necromantic ship of black obsidian wood captained by a lich sorceress named... what was her name? Named Ragsmauda. All seemed to be lost when Kodak himself stood up to save his own arse, and entered into the what is it called? Damn it, I was doing so well. Entered into the Lich's cabin himself. No one knows what transpired between them, but I think he pleased her quite greatly. There are a few grimaces. What, you saying an old bone wench can't get boned every once in a while? And then maybe I think a tomato does get thrown at that point. Oh, all right, but still, nevertheless, Kodak left that cabin, saving his own ass and his right hand fully de-skinned. Bonefist he was, and Bonefist he became. He renamed his ship the Filthy Lucra, and, well, ever since then it's only been uphill for our old Hurricane King. There's some claps and cheers as he dives into the next story. The camera zooms back up to Spear. Spear's watching from afar, noting, maybe half listening, with a beer in his hand. When the orcish bartender, comes back to him. Anything else I can get you? She says. Oh, well, please just keep the drinks coming, huh? And she nods. As the night goes on, he begins to drink more and more and more. Indeed, the rest of the bar seems to be devolving into quite a drunken, inebriated mess. When we can see a few figures enter into the bar. Maybe they've been there all along, their eyes open, watching the crowd, looking maybe not for someone specific, but for specific type of people. The man in charge of this group has a dirty black beard and long hair. He's maybe got a whip tied up at his side. He's wearing a long black jacket and a red bandana over his head. As he grins, you can see toothy gold coming out of his mouth. He's looking around and he points at two people in the bar. Our gnomish friend Hazlen, who begins telling a tale of a old shipwright who, after a night of drunkenness, found himself awoke the next morning aboard a pirate ship in service of a new crew. And he points over to Spear, who at this point is well in his cups. Maybe there's like several bottles of beer like next to him, a whole bunch of little shot glasses, and he's got one mug and he's just staring into it, hoping that something will stare back at him. And then, boom, his head hits the countertop. And we can see the bandanaed man grabbing those two people and bringing them out of the tavern. Under the cover of the night and the light of the moon, we see this group of people carrying a passed-out spear and a drugged Hazlen on board a wooden ship that's parked at the end of this dock. And shortly after they board, the gangplank is pulled up and the ship sets sail. Let's switch the song. Let me know if you can hear the music from my Roll20 well enough. Please let me know if there's any sort of technical issues. We're always troubleshooting here on stream. Ooh, no. This isn't right. Maybe this one. That's not right either. Sorry. Thanks, Chichi Wow. It was a little prologue. This is all before the campaign officially starts. Yeah, thanks. Ooh, we find ourselves on board the Wormwood. Let me grab these three. Yep, I knew I forgot something. I only have these 2 tokens available, but that should be okay. We'll, day 2 of 5. We'll run it on stream. We're making it up as we go, essentially. The next morning, Spear finds himself waking up. Oh. The Gillman, or the Azarketi, kind of grabs at his crown. Pointer, index, and thumb rubbing the beginning of the bone ridges alongside his skull. There's a flash in his mind as he's thinking back to the night before. He remembers the ringing laughter of a wild night kind of all happening around him. Not necessarily him having a wild night, him having more of a depressed drinking binge and a frustrated orcish maid listening bored to his sorrows. He remembers the heady smell in the air of excess, scents of rich stewed meat and perfume lingering in his nostrils. And then, as the light kind of like pulses in through his closed eyes, he has a pounding headache. The sickly taste of cheap wine and beer and liquor in his mouth. His stomach lurches as the ground sways beneath him. His trained sailor senses immediately telling him that he's at sea. The rhythmic creaking noise does that as well. And as he looks up, he finds himself in aboard a ship. Let's go to A10 and find the description for this. This is the main, the lower deck of the Wormwood. And this is where the crew sleeps. So I think there are the crew berths. 16 pillars support the deck above this spacious hold. At night, the Wormwood's common pirates tie their hammocks between the walls and pillars. So at the moment, there aren't any hammocks drawn. Except for maybe 2 in the far forward section of the hold. That would be in this direction. You can see these 4 hammocks are still up and tied. There's a trap between the and then there are stairs that lead up to what should be the middle hold. A trap door just behind the main mast. The main mast right here in the middle of the hold opens into presumably the bilges below, and maybe there's like a scent of stale, kind of like dirty water coming out from there. At the moment, the hold is currently empty of cargo, but Spear looks around and can see that on each side of the ship, lining the walls, are several footlockers. He, as a trained sailor, profession sailor, recognized these as probably member lockers for the crew members. There are 24 lockers in here, 18 of which have locks on them. He looks over, and laying on the ground, kind of tossed carelessly next to him, he sees the silver-haired gnomish man that he recognizes from the night before. And just as he is moving to kind of try and wake the man, there are the sounds of boots coming from down the stairs. Several pairs of heavy footsteps entering the dark room, and the harsh light of a lantern painfully spearing his eyes. The man from before. Okay, let's get this. It should be here. Master Scourge walks down the steps, and you can see this man with the red bandana, still abed with the sun over the yard arm. His loud voice hurts Spear's ears, and the gnomish man, Hazlen, starts to stir. On your feet, you filthy swabs! Get up on the deck and report for duty before Captain Harrigan flays your flesh into sausage skins and has fish guts fry you up for breakfast. There are 6 rough-looking pirates with him. And Master Scourge laughs again. Spear quickly stands up, used to taking orders, but surprised at this, at what's happening. Looking at chat respond. I'm glad you guys liked it. It took me days to figure out how to make that work, but work it did. I'm using Snap Camera, and I had to make specific Snapchat lenses to use with this. But this is all NPC art from the Skull and Shackles adventure path. Spear stands up, kind of looking and realizing that fancy breastplate he was wearing the night before, gone. Instead, he's just wearing his khaki tan, I think he's wearing like an explorer's outfit. His spears, his shield, his bag with all of his equipment. Let's see what he had real quick. His wand of Cure Light Wounds, gone. His belt pouch, he still has his belt pouch. They left him his money. At the very least, that's some sort of, Actually, why would they leave him his money? They didn't take his money. They did take his money. So if anything, they took everything from him. Water skin, trail rations. And he gropes to his chest where he finds a wooden symbol of his goddess, Besmara. Besmara's symbol, what does it look like? I should know this. Besmara. Her symbol is the skull and crossbones. So yes, as he reaches up to his neck, he can see it like a wooden symbol underneath his shirt of a skull and crossbones, and he grips it tightly. The gnomish person kind of, like turns, rolling back and forth. Oh, no, I don't want to. What's going on? And one of the pirates quickly runs over and just like gives him a quick kick in the stomach. And Hazlen sits up. Hey, what's all this on about then? And he looks around. He can see Spear like staring down at him, and he's like, "But where's my stuff? You took everything. What's going on?" Hazlen also finds himself missing quite a bit, despite the fact that he didn't have any armor to lose. His weapons are gone. His masterwork crossbow is gone. His wand of magic missile is gone as well. I think, he doesn't have anything left on him, unfortunately. Spear comes over and helps bring him up, and the two of them make their way up the ship, moving through the middle deck, which is area A6, and onto the Wormwood's main deck. So they move up to here, through these steps, and then up these steps here, making their way to the main deck. That's right. Here. As they come up these stairs, they're pushed down. Where's my notes? Pushed down by their new boss, Master Scourge, who laughs some more as they kind of like are like drunkenly pushed down. Oop, looking at my notes. Sorry, just a sec. It's weird, because like normally when I would be looking at my notes, I'd have like 3 or 4 other people who could start to fill up the time. That's kind of why I also wanted to show you guys the book that I'm working out of, so that at least we can maybe like read along together. There we go. That's right, as the PCs make their way to the main deck, they can begin to adjust to their surroundings and deduce what happened to them. Okay, great. I think they will both do that. We'll make perception checks for the pair of them. Hazlen gets a +6. He's quite perceptive, and Spear's perceptive as well, although not necessarily trained in the art of finding traps. So what was that? +6 for Hazlen? Ooh, a 9. The drug that Hazlen was roofied with last night is too much for him. He's tripping over his feet, trying desperately to keep up with and avoid the flying boots of the pirates that have surrounded him. I think Spear maybe grabs his wrist, the little gnome's wrist, and maybe even like holds him up as they're walking up the stairs, trying his best to protect the gnome from those kicks. +5 perception for Spear. That's a 12, so that is just enough for Spear to taste something on his tongue. The aftertaste of oily nutmeg. He's not trained in alchemy or nature, but there's something about the taste that has his mind kind of whirling, wondering what happened to him. Animal companions and familiars. Good to know. Let's jump back to the ship real quick. And as Hazlen's, as they come out onto the ship, Hazlen's looking around, wondering where he is, how he got here. I need to grab this. When he hears a familiar caw of a seagull, who from a nice safe distance lands on the side of the ship, maybe on a mast up above, one of the long things holding these white sails. And he sees his seagull familiar, Hawk. And I think Hazlen would feel, despite the insecurity and shock of waking up in this unfamiliar and dangerous place, sees his old friend, his animal accomplice, Hawk, and almost grins, knowing that, well, at least as long as they're together, things aren't so bad. All right. Back to the adventure path. It's quickly apparent that they're in the middle of the ocean, far from any land. They can see several figures clustered around the ship's mainmast. Looking up at the higher deck on the stern, where two figures stand. One of them is a broad, muscular Garundi man with a shaven head, a long beard bound with gold rings and an eye patch. And the way that everyone is staring at him and the way that he's not staring at anyone else tells them that this is the captain. The other is a younger, balding man with a long black ponytail, wearing a long coat and carrying a well-used cat-o'-nine-tails. And as Spear and Hazlen are pushed up against the mainmast, they realize they're not the only new recruits, but there are 4 other people standing with them on the deck, set apart by their relative cleanliness and their apparent unease with the newfound situation. Let's run through these people real quick, just so you can all get a sense of who they are. There's a woman standing next to them in a white top with red hair, her arms and legs covered in tattoos, and as they move close to her, she gives them a slight smile, encouraging and positive. Nope, not him. Oop, where are we? There is another gnome here wearing a purple hat with a curly Q mustache and a skull patch, and he frowns at them, not happy about the situation or how he's been handled. There's a halfling woman standing next to him and throwing him dirty looks. She's got this red scarf on that's kind of blowing in the wind. 1, 2, 3. Oh, and then a human man with a blue bandana, shaved head is standing there, kind of just like keeping to himself, arms crossed, with breathing heavily. Where am I? I got these all set to hotkeys. So, the young bald man with the cat o' nine tails looks at the captain, kind of says something, and that's me. There we go. And Captain Harrigan begins to talk.
Glad you could join us at last. Welcome to the Wormwood. My thanks for volunteering, he uses air quotes, to join me crew. I'm Barnabas Harrigan. That's Captain Barnabas Harrigan to ye. Not that you'll ever need to address me. The bald man next to him, who seems quite young in age comparison, snickers. I've got only one rule. Don't speak to me. I like to talk, but there we go. I like to talk, but I don't like your talk. Follow that rule and we'll get along fine. He looks around at the new recruits. Oh, and one more thing. Even with your new ones, we're still short-handed, and I aim to keep what crew I have. There'll be a key hauling for anyone caught killing anyone. Mr. Plug. And he refers to the balding man next to him, who, like, stands up straight, almost whips the cat o' nine tails in the air. If you'd be so kind as to make pirates out of these landlubbers, it'll save me having to put them in the sweat box for a year and a day before I make pies out of them.
Spear looks around nervously, but the red-headed woman catches his eye, and she looks at his symbol, his medallion, his holy symbol of Besmara, and he notices that she too is wearing a wooden symbol of a skull and crossbones around her neck, and she gives him an encouraging nod. Spear looks up at the captain as he's walking away, and the first mate, Mr. Plug, as he's walking towards them. He looks down at them from his spot up high on the stern and smiles unpleasantly. What's my smile going to look like? The Snapchat filter is fine, but unfortunately I have to have my background up for myself. And the background doesn't work well with some of the Snapchat lenses. So I gotta like switch between turning the background off on Zoom and then going back to whatever lenses I have. Luckily, the lens camera has hotkeys set up on the keyboard. Unfortunately, you can all hear that as I'm like moving through it. So I'll probably work on that in the meantime before the next stream. You never know until you start streaming, like, what issues are going to pop up. Thanks, Midnight. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I feel like we're moving pretty well. All right, let's get back to Mr. Plug. Mr. Plug stands down and looks at them all. We know that the Wormwood is seriously undermanned, and he's thinking about this. We'll call this like omniscient third-person narration. There's definitely not enough people. Are there? Hold on. It's seriously undermanned, and he has a number of positions to fill. He doesn't care about whether or not the PCs are ideal candidates. And he doesn't worry about it at all. He'll assign jobs first. So he starts going down the line, and he goes past the four other candidates, and he's like, rigger, swab. He stops in front of Spear and looks at him. I think you need to test. I need another sailor to work in the rigging, someone who can climb well. He looks down at Hazlen, whose small and scrawny arms don't look particularly strong. Let's see how well you can climb, Gillman. And I think there's a laugh from the other pirates that are around. Yeah, let's see how well you can climb. Spear shrugs. I can climb well enough if you need me. Then go for it. So he puts him in front of the main mast, where there's a whole bunch of ropes ready for people to climb. And he needs him to climb up to the crow's nest. I think we'll see how well Spear does. If he doesn't do well at all, then Hazlen's going to have to climb as well. And I don't know, the higher we go, the more likely there's a chance that we could fall. So let's jump back to roll 20. And Hazlen's going to go, or excuse me, Spear's going to go ahead and make some climb checks. He's pretty good at climbing. Let me pop off this armor that he no longer has to get that check DC off. He was sitting at with the shield and the breastplate. He was sitting at a +6 climb. With both of those gone, he moves up to a +7. So that's pretty good. Let's see. It says it requires a DC 10 check to reach the crow's nest, 60 feet above the deck. PCs climb at 1/4 their normal speeds. His normal speed's like 25 feet. So he might need to make like 6 checks. That's a lot. Instead of rolling this way, cancel. I'm just going to roll 60 20s. And we'll remember to add 7 to each of those. 17, 19, 16, 4 plus 7, that's a 10. He barely makes it. So he starts climbing up. And he's doing remarkably well. And then he slows down, kind of the exhaustion and his hangover fucking catching up to him. He reaches out for a rope and just barely manages to grab it, but the rope kind of comes loose and he starts swinging. He goes to grab for another rope and misses it, and then like swings back, and on his second shot is able to grab it. We need one more climb check. And he's able to make it up into the crow's nest easily enough. There being just a slight moment of hesitation. Maybe Hazlen down below, as Spear is swinging, just gasps dramatically, ever one who enjoys the flair for the dramatic. But as Spear makes it into the crow's nest, he kind of maybe grabs another rope and just slides all the way down it, landing on his feet at the bottom, standing up straight, coming up just above the shorter Mr. Plug, who looks up at him and snarls, "All right, you're a rigger now. And you'll get your duties right after we..." Well, he turns to Hazlen, and he maybe like pokes Hazlen's belly, who giggles like a Pillsbury Doughboy. "You look well fed enough. I guess you'll be working as the ship's mate. Old Fish Guts has a drinking problem, and I'm fed up with eating rubbish. You're okay with that?" Hazlen, "Yeah, all right. It ain't no big thing to me." And nods. The rest of the characters, he turns to them and he's like, "The rest of you will be busy swabbing the deck." And I think for that, we are going to go to our first daily activity. Where is it? A Pirate's Day. Spear is now working as a rigger, so he has one of 6 duties that Mr. Plug will assign him every day. I'm going to roll 2d6 because Hazlen will also have some duties, so he'll need a die roll for himself as well. That's a 5 for Spear, so he'll be working today as a lookout. "All right," Plug says. "Climb back up to the crow's nest." And you'll be sitting there the rest of the day. Hope the midday sun doesn't bother you too much." Spear kind of gulps at this, and we can see that his skin, like maybe his gills, are starting to dry up. As an Azarketi, Spear is amphibious. He can survive just as well below the surface of the water and breathe underwater. But the problem is that without fully immersing himself into water once every 24 hours, his body starts to shut down. And we're not exactly sure at this point when his last dip in the ocean was, but we know that it's been at least 12 hours. And if he's going to have to spend another 8 to 12 hours up there in the crow's nest, things might get a little uncomfortable for him. Hazlen, on the other hand, so let's start there. Spear nods. He's, like I said, well used to taking orders, and he doesn't even say anything to Mr. Plug, despite the fact that, like, he can probably tell Mr. Plug is taking joy in the way that he's ordering, that he's making him, like, climb back up and down the mast. So we're gonna need more climb checks, followed by a DC 10 perception check. I probably won't make these every day. There are like good 20 days that we kind of will be going through as we're sailing along the ship. 60-20. But I do want to see, at least on this first day, if Spear is going to fall, if he takes any damage. He has to get a 3 or lower to fail these climb checks. So luckily that last one, that's a natural one though. God, is he gonna fall? Let me roll one more. No, he's able to catch himself and swing up into the crow's nest, followed by a DC 10 perception check. We determined that his perception is a +5 earlier, and he just barely makes it a 10. I think there are punishments for folks who don't do well on their ship, fail on their task. Failing a task's required skill checks results in punishment. A punishment for failing a check by 4 or less is merely a severe verbal reprimand, or worse, a rope bash. Failing by 5 or more results in 3 lashes. The number of lashes increases to 6 if this is the second such failure in a row. So yeah, he's doing good for this first day of work, but I think he understands immediately what kind of danger he's in. The rest of the new recruits, the purple-hatted gnome, the red-headed woman, the blue-bandanaed human man, and the red-scarfed halfling woman are given their own orders, manning the bilges, catching rats, swabbing the decks, hauling rope and knotwork, running messages and doing repairs, all that kind of stuff. But Hazlen looks up at Mr. Plug last. Hazlen's got his like broad, flat-brimmed, broad black hat in his hands, and he's been worrying it with stress and nerves. Well, what have you got for me, Mr. Plug? Is this ship's cook, this fish guts, any good? Mr. Plug just laughs. And so they make their way into the kitchen. Let's go into the kitchen. What does it look like? Where is the kitchen? That's probably the captain's. Would be somewhere in the middle deck. Looks like A8. Is this interesting, seeing the adventure path as well? Considering that, like, I'm the only person in this game, I feel like it's good to, like, show both sides of the table, essentially. Let me know if you can see it well enough. The Galley. The Galley is the domain of Ambrose Fishguts Croup, the drunken ship's cook. The cramped and chaotic kitchen holds 2 wooden work tables, several wooden cupboards, and 2 small stoves against the port wall, as well as virtually every cooking utensil imaginable, and a frightening array of meat cleavers. I'm going to grab Hazlen and move him down to the lower decks. Sorry. A frightening array of meat cleavers. A score of chickens and 3 goats wander freely throughout the chamber. I bet that's frickin' stinky. I would imagine that as soon as Hazlen walks in, he grabs it at his nose and covers it real quick. Mr. Plug just laughing and pushing him forward into the stinky galley. The goats are meant to be caged, but they have a distressing tendency to escape their bonds. The kitchen is a madness of dirt, food, and knives, and finding anything in here requires a perception check. The stoves are perpetually lit, and large cauldrons bubble away atop them at all times. It's already hot and humid enough. It's late April in a tropical climate. So I'm imagining that the galley here is very warm, all things considered. A huge array of spices mingle with barrels of rainwater, 2 tons of rum, cupboards full of ship's biscuit and salted beef, barrels of sauerkraut, and a small supply of fresh vegetables picked up in Port Peril. Despite the chaos, the entire galley functions as a set of masterwork tools for profession cook checks. Unfortunately, Hazlen does not have that profession, but he'll make the checks as best he can. There are several items of value lost among the ruin and squalor. DC 10 perception check to discover. Very cool, very cool. A trio of harpoons. Good bottles of good Chelish brandy. 3 bottles of magnificent rum. A prosthetic leg. Harpoons and Kroop's Steadfast Grapple hang on the walls. Yeah, so in addition, we see a trio of harpoons, a spear, and Kroop's Steadfast Grapple hanging on the walls. Yeah, I bet that galley is rampantly stinky. What did it say? Page 59. What is this grapple that it's talking about? One nice thing, this AP has a series of stories written in 6 parts in it, and they're pretty nice. 59, almost there. The Steadfast Grapple. This iron grappling hook is attached to a 50-foot length of silk rope. When a Steadfast Grapple is thrown, it automatically hits and attaches to any targeted object or structure within range of its rope. Against creatures, the wielder must make attack rolls as normal. Once attached, the Steadfast Grapple can only be removed with a DC 30 strength check. The command word or magic such as Dispel Magic. Nice. Okay. Very cool. Checking my notes. As we step into the galley, I'll switch us over here. We can see Hazlen here in the galley. He looks up to see a broad-bellied human man snoring in the corner near one of the stoves. Sorry, checking my notes once more. The cook's mate. We made a roll, and for Hazlen, we got a 6, which is not great. We also have to roll, there's a 50% chance that Kroop, the chef, is insensible and no help during the day. So let's go ahead and roll that and see how we do. We're going to roll 1d100, so 50 or lower. 50 or lower, he's sober enough to do his job, the coop. Fish guts. 51 or higher, he's not. Oh God. Okay, Hazlen, this is your first day. Mr. Plug goes, pushes him in and says, nope. The captain wants to celebrate your first day tonight. Wake up the chef and prepare something special for us, huh? And he walks away, laughing to himself. The chef is in the corner, and I think sitting in his lap is a black roostered, a black feathered rooster. And Fish Guts is he's got this like bloody apron on. There's a green bottle in his hand of something ripe smelling, and the chef's cap is like over in front of his eyes. Hazlen goes over. Excuse me, and pulls at the apron. Excuse me, Chef Fish Guts, I presume? And Fish Guts kind of like, what? What? Who are you then? Well, God, I really wish I hadn't. If I hadn't put it on the alt, it wouldn't be making this noise. Oh well. We'll just have to deal with it for today. Sorry, y'all. I mean, I guess I could do it by hand, but whatever. There's a reason I set it up on the hotkeys because of how many NPCs we're going through. Oh well, nice to meet you. I'm Hazlen Querkel, buccaneer, aspiring buccaneer, and barroom tail spinner. At your service. Ambrose kind of looks down at him. Yeah? And is there something you'd be wanting then? Oh, well, the thing is, sir, I've been ordered to be your new chef's mate. Ambrose looks down at him. I guess I could use the help. I'm not sure where this accent's going. I was thinking, I kind of like the Liverpoolian accent, but I always have trouble with it. Well, yeah, Captain Harrigan is celebrating something today, and he wants one of the ship's pigs butchered and cooked for dinner. And where are those pigs at? I'm gonna guess the pigs are probably somewhere on the ship in a hold, maybe, or maybe lower down. We looked at the galley. There weren't pigs in here, were there? It was just goats. Score of chickens and 3 goats. Let's do a Google. The middle hold. Right, so this is the hold above. Where... Yeah, right out here. So literally right outside the kitchen doors is where the pigs are kept. Okay, cool. Yeah, the captain wants some pigs butchered. You think you're up to it? And Hazlen looks up at him. You want me to butcher something? I was trying to do an Australian accent for Hazlen. We'll see how well it goes. But I'm trying. You want me to butcher something? Oh, well, I don't. It's been a long time since I had to butcher my own food, but I'm certain I can try hard enough, sir. And Ambrose, yep, you'll have to try as hard as you can then, because the captain will. He's got quite finicky tastes. All right, and then well. He passes back out. It's like mid-morning at this point, and the man is passed out, drunk. Hazlen looks around at the kitchen and has no idea what to do. So he runs out, opens the door, and goes to get one of the pigs. He's going to make a DC 10 survival check. Since it's the middle hold, There should be windows of some sort. Right? I think there should be windows, honestly. So maybe as he's like kind of going up to the pigs, there's like a pecking and a caw at the at the window, and through the porthole flies this tiny seagull, tiny in comparison to Hazlen's small builds, and he flies straight into Hazlen's arms. Who's like, "Oh, Hawk, it's so great to see you. You're such a smart bird." He's scratching the bird's head, and underneath his beak, "You're the smartest bird that ever lived. You are. Oh, I'm so glad you found me. Oh, Hawk, I just don't know. What are we gonna do? I mean, I've always dreamt of being a pirate, but not quite under these conditions. You know what I mean?" And Hawk, the seagull squawks in his face. "All right, you must be starving. Well, let me grab one of these pigs, and we'll root through the kitchen and see what we can find, huh?" The small gnome, his long silver hair maybe coming loose, fishes around for some rope, some quick string to tie up his hair, and he goes and he gets the pig to butcher. It's important that Hawk is here because as a seagull familiar, I'm using the osprey template, specifically because it gives a survival bonus. There are lots of different bird type familiars that give different types of bonuses. Parrots and toucans tend to do like diplomacy checks. Ravens are good for appraise. There's the thrush, which I think also is diplomacy. There's also a lot of birds give fly checks, but the osprey and like other birds of prey give bonuses to survival checks. And I thought for a seagull that was particularly apt, specifically because seagulls are just so damn sturdy. I mean, they eat anything and they can always find food. So I wanted to make sure to give Hazlen some sort of bonus to his survival, which he's not trained in, so he's literally only getting a +3. So hopefully he can slaughter this pig well enough. It's just a DC 10, so let's go ahead, Hazlen. +3 to his survival. 19. Okay. Hazlen, grabs one of the cooking knives, or does he? He grabs a knife and well enough, and maybe he pulls the bloody apron off of Ambrose's drunken form and folds it, wraps it up over his small frame, and actually, he's not awkward about it at all. As soon as that knife gets into his hand, he cuts the pig's throat without a second thought. There's something about the way, and even the pig doesn't even see it coming. It's almost like it was a sneak attack or a surprise. And he cuts it and then begins cleaning, cutting, and preparing the carcass. I think Croup maybe stands up and is just like, "No, you want to be. You keep the knife clean of that organ right there. Otherwise, you'll fill the entire floor with blood." And Hazlen's like, "Oh no, we wouldn't want that." In addition, though, after the slaughtering of this pig, Croup kind of like sits back down. He's like, "Well, all right. If you're quite a natural at this, maybe you could try cooking it for us too." It's probably like afternoon at this point as he's going, and Hazlen's like, "You want me to cook for the whole crew?" Yeah, just chop it up. You can probably make like no, don't chop it up. Don't chop it up. You throw it over the fire. You probably want to be doing like a pig roast. There's probably some apples. You can. We just got some fresh veggies as well. So an apple in the mouth, a couple leeks along the side if you stitch it in or whatever. It's been so long since I've done any kind of gourmet cooking that, I just don't give a fuck anymore. And takes a big old swig of his wine at that point. But Hawk is nearby, or maybe sitting on Hazlen's shoulder, and nudges him encouragingly with his head. And Hazlen feels determined. He's going to need me to make a DC 15 intelligence check. Luckily, he is somewhat intelligent. We're looking at a +2, 14 intelligence. But that's DC 15. This is not great. Remember, we looked it up. If he fails this check, intelligence, he's potentially facing a lashing, by Mr. Plug. I think he's especially worried because he's already been kicked a couple times by these pirates. He's definitely small enough to where they could really do him major harm. I think he's also thinking about, he has the campaign trait, Barroom Tail Spinner, and so he knows a lot of stories about being pirates and about, living the pirate life and at sea. And so he knows exactly what kind of punishments people give. I think he says to Hawk, he's like, "Oh, Hawk, I hope I don't mess this up. I really don't want to be keel-hauled. I mean, I know the captain said that murder is the only thing that can... or keel-hauling is punishment for murder, but I think I might end up murdering this cooking job. What do you think, Hawk?" And Hawk just gives him this, straight-eyed look and, maybe goes and starts pecking at the guts of the pig that are left over. Hazlen shrugs. "Well, here goes nothing. I didn't get this far in life just to be set back by any kind of strange shit as this." 18! Okay. By the time evening rolls around, Ambrose maybe wakes back up and he can see Hazlen is, has this stick of butter and is rubbing it on the outsides of this roasted pig. Well, you've done a mighty fine job at that," Ambrose says. Grabs a finger, runs it along the pig and licks it. "Yeah, you sure you didn't have any? You sure you don't have any experience in being a chef?" The little silver-haired gnome is standing on a stool. "Well, I've certainly had to sing for my supper before, but no, this is quite new to me. I've read plenty of stories, so this wasn't the worst kind of thing I've ever done. And, it was quite exciting having a new challenge to take on. And I think once the drink kind of left my foggy-headed mind, I was able to really get to work." Ambrose is looking at him appraisingly, and I think let's learn a little bit more about Ambrose. Maybe sits down. I'm going to switch the back here. So Hazlen's like, "Oh, thanks, Chef Fishguts. I'm quite glad to be of service." And Ambrose kind of sits back down. "Well, first off, friend, my name's not just Fishguts. You can call me Ambrose." Oh, all right, Ambrose. I didn't always work in this galley, I once was trained as a professional chef in one of Port Peril's most popular and expensive restaurants. Oh, really? Hazlen looks up, eager to hear the story that is coming. You wouldn't have happened to be trained at the Lobster's Armor. That's one of the best restaurants in Port Peril. The best restaurant, kid. But I was thrown out for inappropriate behavior with my assistant. What could I say? The guy was cute and, we had a good time before things went off. Anyway, I've plied my trade with several sailing vessels in the Shackles. But I've been serving here on the Wormwood for the past 3 years. An affable fellow, Krupp loves his food and has more recently developed a taste for rum, a habit that's only encouraged by cutthroat grok. So maybe at this point, a half-orcish woman comes in. Where is she? There she is. Group! Oh, yeah. Hey, Grok. Hey, Grok. Meet my new assistant. This is Hazlen. Nope. There it is.
No, nice to meet you.
It smells wonderful in here. My throat's hurting a little bit. It smells wonderful in here.
Krupp, smells like you made us a feast.
To be honest, Grok, I didn't do much of it. Was the little guy that did it. Nope. There she is.
What? You must be quite the chef. Pleased to meet you. I'm Cutthroat Grok, with the Wormwood's quartermaster. If you ever need anything, come by the shop. We close around 3 p.m., but it's open for most of the day. And Hazlen nods, very happy to make her acquaintance. Okay. I think we pan back upstairs as the sun begins to set. Spear is up in the crow's nest. My ears are itching. Spear is up in the crow's nest. The sun bright in his eyes, desperately trying to keep it out of his purple-colored eyes, and keeping an eye on the waters, the ocean's horizon. As soon as the ship, there's like a bell that rings out, marking the end of the day's work. And I think he quickly slides down into the ship, onto the ship's deck, where the red-headed woman from before is waiting for him. Hi there. I'm Sendara. Nice to meet you. No, that's not her accent. I think maybe like a British accent, like a high British. Hello there. I heard tell your name's Spear? Spear nods. Yes. How did you hear that? Well, I managed to talk to a few people. Heard Mr. Plug. Nasty man, that one. He was talking about you. He doesn't seem to like you very much. Well, I did not do anything to him. I gotta apologize. That maybe it might have something to do with me. Anyway, I noticed, and she points at the neck, the amulet around his neck, and she points at the one around hers as well. Are you a follower? A worshipper of the Pirate Queen? Bismara? Spear nods. He's really more of the kind of like silent, strong, silent type. I've been and I think maybe as like the crew begins to head downstairs, she reaches into her belt and pulls out a long, thin wooden pipe, loading it with some tobacco and lighting it with a. No, she doesn't have that spell prepared. She is a cleric.
lighting it with a flint and steel, puffing away at it. I hope you don't think I'm too forward. Were you were press ganged as well? Spear just kind of looks at her. Press ganged? Well, what do you mean by this? Oh, well, it's it's not an uncommon practice amongst pirate crews. I myself don't think it's quite the efficient tool as perhaps our captain does. Forcing someone to be a member of your crew just doesn't make sense to me. Wouldn't you want someone who wants to be there with you, whose trust you've earned? The Pirate Queen, she's a goddess of strife. I understand that, but I don't necessarily think that we need to have strife amongst the crew, amongst people who should have our backs. No? Spear just nods. He thinks back to the previous ships he's worked on, what little camaraderie existed between him and his fellow crew members, and how lonely some of the nights were as they passed. I'm not even sure what Sandara's doing here. She's designed to give the characters an automatic friend among the Wormwood's crew. Okay, here we go. I haven't been here aboard the ship long. They waited to assign us jobs before they, finished recruitment drives. And she kind of rolls her eyes at that. I'm pretty keen at picking up information. So if you ever need any help or any kind of tips, I'm glad to give it. Besmara also has blessed me in my worship of her. I led a small church of Besmara back in where is she from? Back in Hell Harbor. I was sailing by the age of 12. Maybe 3-4 years after that, my father almost died. He was lost in a powerful storm in a fleet of fishermen. And I stayed up all night praying to Besmara. She is also the goddess of sea monsters. And with that, she kind of looks at Spear's gills and his forehead, his head bones, without saying anything. When my father returned the following morning, weather-beaten and half-drowned, I knew that Besmara had answered my prayers, and after setting up a small chapel on the docks dedicated to her in Hell Harbor, I soon began developing, powers. She's a tricky goddess, she is. She's got her own designs, and sometimes it can be as clear as day what she wants for you. And other times, it's the murkiest waters you've ever seen. I found myself 3 weeks ago after my father died. Spear's just looking at her like, why are you telling me your whole life story right now? I think he's gonna this is a little odd for him. People don't usually seek him out to listen, as a shoulder to cry on, or helpful ears. So I think we're gonna go ahead and roll a sense motive, which is not great for him. He gets a +0 to this sense motive. Beep, 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 beep. 0 sense motive. He rolls a 5. So he's utterly perplexed. He's like, where is this going? What is this doing? And at the same time, he keeps looking down at the water, maybe licking his lips, his mouth super dry, his skin almost starting to crack in parts. Like looking, like especially around the gills and on his face, it's like looking super tight, like around, and maybe his veins, his blue veins, are looking really obvious. Like his flesh is almost becoming translucent in a way. I think we should go ahead and roll something for Sandara as well. She's not trained in diplomacy, nor is she trained in sense motive either. What do we roll then? Profession sailor? I mean, we can just go ahead and make a flat charisma or wisdom check, which is a +2 in both cases for her. One d20 +2. 17. So even as she's speaking, despite the fact that Spear is confused, there's something soothing about her voice and the way that she's talking to him as an equal and not as a freak or a mutant or as just a wage slave, someone who comes on to the job, does what he needs to do, says silent, and goes home. She's looking for a compatriot, a comrade, and she's treating him as such. Anyway, after I made it to Port Peril, I fell afoul of Captain Harrigan's press game. That man up there. And she points to Master Scourge. She names him. That's Master Scourge. Master Scourge kind of like is walking across the deck looking at people. Maybe there are some pirates that are kind of lollygagging. He has his whip in his hands and cracks it and laughs as the pirates kind of jump at the sudden loud sound. He's pretty bad. Him and his men, they took me. I mean, there are worse places to be than a pirate ship, but this is where I feel like Besmora has a purpose for me being here. She smiles softly at Spear and taps the seagull feather in her tricorn hat. Master Scourge looks over to her and like licks his lips. And she frowns, thinking about how the night before he made a pass at her, and she responded by slapping him. He's the bosun. Master Scourge, he's the bosun and master of arms. I would stay far away from him. There's something off, and the way that he cozies up to Mr. Plug, I can't imagine that he's going to be of any help to you or I moving forward. Spear nods. If you don't mind, before dinner, I need to. Is there a way I can jump into the ocean, come back? I mean, I don't have anywhere to go, but I need to. And she looks like really concerned for a minute. But why? Why would you need to do that? What's wrong? And he just kind of like. And he points. He taps his neck where the gills are. Just for a little bit, if I can just feel. I need to get the skin wet, and can you help me? And she nods, definitely. Right over here. Come. Let's make our way to the. I think we need to go. Let me move the map. back up top to the upper decks. We're over here. Hazlen's not here. He's down there. This would be the stern, huh? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So I think she takes him. Yeah, like down over here. No, this is the stern. This is the aft. Look at that big, like dragon's head here. So she probably pulls him back here to the aft. People are heading down these stairs. And she stands in front of him. Maybe grabs a rope and throws it over the side. And Spear nods, thankfully, grabs onto the rope. And just like he's been doing all day, climbing up and climbing down, slides down the rope and into the water. After he splashes in, fully clothed, the water seeps into his pores, and maybe the camera zooms down into his skin and into the cells, and we can see as the water floods in, his vein starts pulsing normally, rhythmically, with life once more, as if the salty water from the sea is. Stern is the aft and stern. Aft and stern are both the back of the boat. The prow and fore are the front. Yes, thank you. Thanks, Zero. You think I would know this? How many different boating games and how many different starship games have we done? But I always mess it up. This would be the starboard side. We're in the aft starboard side of the ship. So yeah, he goes into the water, and we can see as if the sea's salty water of life is giving him energy, revitalizing his body, his pores, his skin, his muscles, his heart. He takes a deep breath through the lungs, and water pours in through the gills and pours into his body, into his lungs, kind of like his body soaking up every little bit of it. And he just breathes there for a moment, holding on to the rope, maybe hand pushing him off of the side of the boat, away from the scrapey barnacles that if he were hugging the side of the boat, would be scraping up and cutting his skin. And then he grabs onto the rope and begins climbing back up. We're going to make another climb check here, just because I want to. 11. Easy enough. He's got not only, has he been climbing ropes all day, so his muscles are a little tired, but he's got the side of the boat that he can, put his feet on and climb up that way. And he hops over the side of the boat where, Sandara is waiting for him once more.
Are you all right?
Yeah, I am fine. It's just, I am good at living above the water, above the surface, Spear says. But my body, it needs it. Every once in a while, once a day at least. Do you know what I mean? She nods her head. Please don't take this the wrong way. And she puts her hand on his chest, and he looks down at it, looks up at her. It's not like he's a virgin or anything, but nor is he taking this as a sexual, but there is something strange as she kind of touches the top of his chest and puts her hand over the metal. Please don't take this the wrong way. I feel something about you. Something divine. Perhaps Pesmara herself has blessed you? I'm not unfamiliar with your kind. Gilman, right? He shakes his head. He nods and then shakes his head. It is hard. Yes, that is what the surface dwellers call us, but in my tongue, we are known as Azarketi. And she nods. Azarketi. I'm familiar with your kind. I just don't think I've met anyone. Being near the ocean, I've seen the odd aquatic elf. I've even met a few Undine in my time. Undine, the people touched by the elements of water. But I have to admit, you are the first Azarketi I've met. Well, he shrugs. I'm happy for you. She laughs. I didn't mean anything like it, and I didn't mean any offense. I just wanted you to know that I recognized, and well, I hope we can be friends. He rolled a 5 on his sense motive. He's confused, but he's also thinking, I don't have any friends at the moment. And he nods his head. And I think as we head back downstairs... Sorry, drinking beer. As we head back, the two of them begin heading downstairs. They can see that dinner is in full swing, and the captain as well as the officers are looking at the pig and singing their praises to Hazlen. That's not, there we go. Captain Harrigan says,
This is,
where's his voice?
all right. First day on the job, not too bad, huh? This pig looks rightly roasted, and well, you've earned a reward for this, I think.
Hazlen's like, what, me?
I get a reward?
But Captain, please, it was no big thing.
Nonsense. I don't want everyone to think that I'm just a merciless task driver.
Mr. Plug looks around, raises an eyebrow, and Master Scourge is next to him, going, shrugging, what? What's going on?
I'm in a good mood.
Oh my God, my voice, my throat.
So, report to the quartermaster tomorrow and see about maybe getting some of your equipment back, huh?
And Haslin's like, oh, well, alrighty then. Oh, thank you, Captain. Thank you greatly. And salutes. Okay. Doing good so far. Let me head back up to the Wormwood. Welcome aboard. Just want to make sure I've covered all of the... Because I think we're at the point now where... Yeah, so as the crew begins eating, they are quite happy with all the food, and they head down into the berth down as they begin setting up their hammocks and getting ready for the night. The quartermaster's store is locked up. The bilges, the crew. There's plenty of people to talk to. Aha! And as dinner is wrapping up, the captain calls everyone back up onto the deck. Yeah, he calls everyone back up onto the deck. The Master Scourge... he's got he's the last one to come up on board, and him and his the same some of the same men that he had before are struggling with a young man who is kind of like kicking and trying to like get out of their grasp. Admit it! Mr. Plug kind of backhands him. You stole from the quartermaster's store last night. Come out with it, out with it! Mr. Plug has his cat o' nine tails and just like whips it across the man's face. You can see that there are several lines that like cover his face, his cheek, and like blood is drawn. The young man finally, after being interrogated, admits, yes, I took it, but you have to understand, there are no excuses. They slap him again. And begin, Mr. Plug turns around. Normally, the punishment for stealing is several lashes, but the captain, who's standing up top and looking down silently, the captain has authorized me for more extreme measures. Master Scourge grabs Jake's magpie, the thieving pirate, over to the side of the ship, and him and his friends begin tying him up. They take the rope that he's being tied to, and on the other side of the ship, you can see that there's a special rope that they're using, almost like it like wraps around the boat entirely. And Mr. Plug laughs as Magpie is thrown over the side of the ship. He doesn't fall because of the way that the rope is tied around his side, but he does hang there uncomfortably. No, please, please! He's like wiggling and grabbing at the rope, but there are no knots near him that he can untie. He's been wrapped up in a way. It is a keel hauling. And he slowly gets pulled underneath the ship. You can hear the crew Spear in particular, who's standing next to Sandara, hears his cries, his screams, and then he hits the water, and the screams become gurgles. Every now and then there is like another scream, and Mr. Plug is just sitting there just tugging at the rope. A DC 15 perception check notices the relish with which Mr. Plug in particular tugs at the rope as the unfortunate magpie is dragged on the ship for 12 rounds. It's interesting to me that they put a perception check on this. Spoiler alert, Mr. Plug. Oh, this is Mr. Plug. Mr. Plug and Master Scourge are definitely set up to be villains in this arc. So it's interesting to me that they would put perception checks on this to be able to tell how he enjoys it. It's also interesting to me because I think it's a sense motive to to understand what someone's thinking. But we're going to go ahead and roll 2d20. Hazlen is standing nearby watching this keel hauling as well. He's going to be the second one. 11 for Spear, so that's 16. I think Hazlen, natural 1. He doesn't notice that Mr. Plug is thoroughly enjoying this keel haul. In fact, I think he probably, with that natural 1, thinks that Mr. Plug is dutifully doing his duty. But Spear sees the way that Mr. Plug tugs at the rope. It totally seems like more of a sense motive. It definitely does. And Spear he kind of maybe nudges Sandara.
That one, the Mr. Plug, he is the first mate?
And Sandara says, yes, he's quite young for the job. There's something, from what I've heard, well, he's mostly earned his title and rank by being in the right place at the right time. Spear kind of thinks to himself. And then I think with that same perception check, looks over and sees Master Scourge eyeing him and Sandara as they're talking and whispering to one another. By the time the body appears on the other sides, it appears to have been cut to shreds. Since Spear rolled pretty well, yeah, Hazlen's like, no, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Why would they do that? I mean, gosh, I never want to steal anything from cutthroat grog. He looks over at the orcish woman. Where is she? Right there, and she's looking just kind of drunk, staring at the boat as it's happening. No, I don't want to say it. I don't want to say it. But Spear, he's seen he's seen such gruesomeness before, and I'm going to give him a chance to make a DC 15 heal check. Spear's heal is at a 0, so he's not particularly good at this, but he has a chance to make it. A 2. So he's like, I guess that's what happens when you're keelhauled. I don't know. I mean, otherwise he would be able to tell that he took about 24 points of damage and drowned as well. I think he just sees a cut up body, and at that point, like, looks away, shaking his head. Mr. Plug and Master Scourge cut the body from the rope and toss it to the ocean. We are nearing the end of tonight's stream, but I think we have just enough time to make some nighttime ship actions. So as we have about 21 days before some things happen. I mean, of course, things will be happening in the story as we go. But we have about 21 days to go through until the second part of this first chapter of the adventure. And so every day, our two PCs, Hazlen and Spear, will be able to make daytime ship actions and nighttime ship actions. Their daytime ship actions will usually depend on what task they've been assigned. Let's check out the night actions. Nighttime ship actions, if they have the energy. They both get 100 XP for successfully completing their first day. In fact, but also... Ooh, we should have been rolling this. Hazlen, Spear's unaccustomed. He's good at seasickness, but Hazlen is unaccustomed to life aboard ships. We could do some thievery, pilfering. Here are the nighttime ship actions. Sleep, go to bed early and sleep through the night. Automatically recover from fatigue. I don't think anyone's fatigued at the moment. They have a chance to gamble or entertain. Hazlen might be interested in that. They can influence, they can sneak, take time exploring one area of the ship, or they can steal. Interesting. I think Hazlen is going to try and entertain the crew. Let's switch to Hazlen. Let's switch to Hazlen. The gnome, he really liked the attention he got from making such a great meal for everyone on what is essentially a special occasion. And I think he's enjoying the attention. So let's go to page, what was it? 67 for entertaining. What page are we on? 25. Do, 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 do. 65, 66, 67. Pirate entertainments. One way pirates amuse themselves is through songs and stories. Hazlen is really good at telling stories. In fact, he's so good at telling stories that once a week, he can use his barroom tail spinner trait to do what? Once per week, you can make a DC 15 knowledge, local, or intelligence check to see if you know a popular legendary pirate tale, the telling of which grants you a +1 trait bonus on checks made to influence NPCs on the Wormwood. Let's make that roll for him, huh? So that's a DC 15 intelligence or knowledge local. He has +8 to knowledge local. So that's very likely that he could do this. 16, just barely. I think Hazlen remembers. Oh, all right, everyone. If you don't mind, I've got some great stories to tell, and after what happened today, perhaps you'd like to hear the tale of the keel-hauled killer. And they all go, ooh, what? And he begins telling a story about a ghost that began haunting a ship after dying from a keel hauling and slowly killing off the members of the crew that conspired against him in his wrongful death. Let's go back to the rules. If a character succeeds at a DC 20 perform check, they gain a +2 circumstance bonus on all charisma-based skills made to interact with any listener among the crew for the next 24 hours. So this is really important, actually. If Hazlen can succeed on this perform check, he's in a position to really get to know the rest of the crew on tomorrow's day of work. But a perform result of 9 or lower, he'd really, with a what is his perform? +5 is his perform oratory. I'm going to give him a +1 from the fact that he knows this pirate legend. Okay, yeah, so let's go ahead and make this check. +6, and he's doing oratory. Perform oratory is his ability. Oops, what? 14 +6. I shouldn't have had the plus in there. So that's a 19. It's not a 20. No. 14 +6 is a 20. Yes! Okay, hell yeah. So Hazlen's going to get a +2 bonus on all charisma-based skill checks made to interact with any listener among the crew. Let me write that down. Hazlen +2 cha to influence crew on day 2, which we'll play next week. Going back to ship actions, Spear. I think Spear is going to maybe sneak. Maybe, I don't know, is there anyone he would like to influence? Gamble? I don't know. I think maybe Spear might just be going to sleep. He should do something. He should sneak. We still have a little bit time left in this session. Okay, we're doing theft, pilfering, and secrecy aboard the Wormwood. To perform any action unobserved, a PC generally must make an opposed skill check. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to have him and Hazlen meet and begin talking. So he's going to do the influence action, which is technically on Hazlen, but should be fine. Should be fine. So, as the two of them are like getting ready to bunk down for the night, I think they have their bunks over here, and since they're the most recent crew members. They're near each other. Role-playing with yourself. Spear goes up to Hazlen, who's like trying to reach the the spot where he can hook his hammock, and Spear just offers, "May I?" and hooks up his hammock for him. Oh, well, thank you very much. I certainly appreciate it. That was a very good tale that you told. Well, I'm sure glad you liked it. I recognize you from last night. You told stories that fortunately made. Oh, yes, I did. Well, you were there as well. Well, I guess you must have been, since we both seem to have lost our wits about us, huh? Yeah, I certainly lost my wits. Spear kind of looks down. It seems I've lost my gear as well. Oh, don't worry about it. I lost most of mine, but well, the captain, he seems a right sort. I mean, he says I can go to the quartermaster tomorrow and maybe get some of my gear back. And hey, I happen to know Grok. I met her earlier today. She's actually quite good friends with Chef Ambrose. Spear looks at him like, Chef Ambrose? Oh, right, fish guts. That's what everybody refers to him as. But really, his name's Ambrose Croup, and despite being pretty drunk today, he seems like a quite nice guy. Could be worse. Yeah, you could be sitting in hot sun all day, looking for nothing on the seas. Oh, I'm kind of sorry to hear that. I hope they weren't too rough on you. It wasn't bad. I have long been working on ships, and well, it's odd not to be getting paid, but I suppose pirates, they only get paid when they steal? Spear looks a little confused. Right, that's how it typically goes, mate. I'm sure from all the stories that I've heard and told and read and seen that we're probably looking for a great mark. If Captain Harrigan's half as good as he seems to be, well, we'll certainly find a ship to rob soon enough. Rob? I normally earn my money legally. Well, we are on the Shackles, and the free captains, technically piracy is legal here, right? Spear nods. He's true neutral. That explanation works well enough for him. Hazlen, on the other hand, is chaotic neutral. Leaning evil, maybe? I definitely want him to be darker. I mean, he's, at the moment, we'll see how this rivalry comes, but at the moment, I think maybe Spear's a little like, you seem to be quite popular. People like you? Yeah, people have always liked me. What about you? People don't. I get around, Spear says. Oh, Hazlen kind of like grits his teeth. Well, I'm sorry to hear that, but I'm trying to get off on the right foot here. So if you could maybe, if people don't like you, I really can't be talking to you. I don't want to be kind of lumped in with you just because we were kidnapped together. Spear looks a little disgruntled at this. Hazlen shrugs. I mean, sorry, it's not personal, mate. But anyway, I'll take pity on you, huh? We'll head up to the quartermasters tomorrow, right before our shifts start, and then maybe we can see about getting some of our gear back. I mean, I know they stole it from us, but we could certainly try and get it back. You know what I mean? And Spear shakes his head. I would like that. Thank you, Hazlen. Yeah, no worries, Spear. But anyway, some of the other pirates are like looking at them because it's as they're getting ready to go to bed. All right. Maybe we go to bed now. And Spear nods. Yeah, we go to bed. Okay. I literally just talked to myself for 2 hours, roleplayed with myself, but it actually went fairly well. I'm pretty happy with this. GG Wow, thank you for hanging out. Midnight Aura, Zero. Let's check who else is in chat. Yozamiria, Blood Red Rook, good to see you. Baby Joe, good to see you, as well as Snake843. Very nice to have you guys here and supporting me. I super appreciate it. I was pretty nervous about this today. Not sure how it was gonna go, but I think it went pretty well. I feel good about it. Thank you, Chichi Wow. A good flow is always necessary, and one thing we didn't get to use at all was the motif story engine system, which should help us as we move forward into less structured episodes, help emulate a GM as well as character motivations. So I'll be using it for some of our NPCs as well as for Spear and Hazlen as we move forward, just to try and get some sort of randomization in our game. But yes, thank you, everyone. Please stay tuned. We're going to raid over to Manapot Studios, where they are starting the Flights Fandom crew. They finished their Star Wars RPG, and they are starting a flight in the Dishonored game series. I haven't played Dishonored. They call it Whale Punk. At least that's what like the owner, the creator of the game calls it. So yeah, like I said, please stay tuned for the raid so we can go over and give them a nice big welcome, and watch too. They're awesome role players, and I know that they have some new people who I'm sure would really appreciate the warm welcome. I'm going to call it here for the night. That was a great episode, and I want to thank you all one last time, and wish you all fair skies and fair winds. Good night.